Hi everyone, it's Linnea. Today we're going to make one of those big old cupcake themed interactive iris shutter cards from the Birthday Iris Shutter Kit. Now just a reminder, this is part of the auto ship option from LDRS Creative and HSN, so that you need to have the original everyday iris shutter kits. That's the dies that are seen there on the left. You need those in order to build this mechanism. This is, I think, the 6th or 7th time you've seen me put together this iris shutter mechanism. So we're going to go through this just like we always have. This first step is the beginner part. Nothing is going to change here in the beginning. I've cut out my pieces that I need from the Everyday Iris Shutter Kit, and then I have this decorative topper from the Birthday Iris Shutter Kit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started by grabbing one of those white circle pieces and all three of our little kidney bean shaped iris shutter pieces. I'm going to look for those little cut lines that have the tabs on them in each one of the kidney bean pieces, and I'm going to pinch those upwards so that they are folded and scored right on their score lines. I'll repeat this with the other two, just kind of pinching them up so those tabs are lifted up into the air. Then I'm going to grab one of those circle pieces, and I'm going to take the foot end of one of those kidney beans and I'm going to hook that right into one of those curved rectangles. Then I'll move on to my second little kidney bean piece and put that right behind the first one, hooking that into that second rectangle, and then repeating that process with the third so that the curvature of the inner circle and the outer circle matches up with those iris shutter pieces. Now I'm going to grab a second one of my white die cut circles and poke those little tabs from the iris shutter mechanism kidney bean pieces. I'm going to pinch and poke those up through those little circle cutouts and then flatten those tabs down. Just a reminder that the kidney bean pieces are the pieces that are going to be seen. Those are your iris shutter pieces that you'll see shutter open and closed. These inside pieces, the white circles that I've die cut, doesn't matter what color they are, they will not be seen. I'm going to just kind of hold on to my back circle and twist my top circle back and forth just to make sure that my iris shutter mechanism is working properly. Next, I'm going to adhere my handle together. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the yellow decorative topper on top of the white handle base. Just adding some liquid adhesive behind there and then gluing those two pieces together. Then I will look for the square outline that has the stitched outlines on my topmost little circle piece here, and I'll add liquid adhesive so that that adhesive doesn't go through the cutout portions, and I'll line up my handle with the stitched outlines there. Now you saw me put together my yellow and white handle pieces, and then I adhered a white handle onto my iris shutter mechanism. That was just a mistake on my part. That's no problem. I can either go ahead and adhere the layered handle piece on top of that white handle, and I'll just have a triple thick handle, or I will eventually in the end of this, in the middle of this video, I'll go ahead and just die cut a second yellow piece and glue that on top of that handle. That was just a mistake on my part. Now we're going to move on to the support beam pieces. And just like in all of my previous videos, we are adding adhesive on the back side of the iris shutter mechanism. You're going to find 3 stitched rectangle guidelines. You're going to add a thin line of adhesive there, fold your support beam pieces, and then adhere them only to the back of this circle. Make sure that you do not adhere them to the front of the mechanism yet. Once I have all 3 of my support beams in place, I'm just going to flip this over so that I'm looking at the front side again, and then unfold them so that I can add on my 3rd circle. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything is aligned. I'll add adhesive onto the exposed end of the support beam tabs. Then I'm going to place that 3rd circle right on top, making sure that those cutouts are aligned all the way around my circle. Then I'll fold those support beams over and adhere this whole mechanism in place. Now again, you want to make sure that these support beams are not squeezed around too tight. Everything should be able to move freely in here. Once my beams are adhered down, I'm going to hold this mechanism so that my left hand is only holding on to the back circle, and then I'm going to move that handle up and down just to make sure that this is moving freely and I haven't misaligned anything or added adhesive where it shouldn't be. Then I can go ahead and grab my other elements from the Birthday Irish Shutter Kit and put this card together. Here's where I fixed the mistake of my handle. I just went ahead and die cut that yellow topper piece again and then slid that in between my mechanism and adhered that on top of my handle. Again, I'm testing just because I've added more adhesive, so I'm testing to make sure everything's still moving freely. I have a pattern paper on an A2 card base, and I've chosen one of the cupcake toppers, and I'm going to adhere the mechanism behind the cupcake. So to do that, I've cut my foam tape into strips so that it will not interfere with any of the cutouts. It's kind of in 3 places going around that Irish shutter mechanism. I'm going to make sure that the circle portion of the cupcake is lined up right in the center of my Irish shutter so that when I open it up you don't see the mechanism at all. I'll adhere that onto the back of my cupcake, and now I need to add this cupcake onto my card. So I'm adding some more adhesive behind the cupcake to kind of pop that up, and I've added adhesive in a triangle going around the back of the circle mechanism, just like I've done many times in many other videos. Now I'm going to open up this Irish shutter mechanism and add some adhesive behind my sentiment, and then just pop that right into place. And I use liquid adhesive, so that gives me a minute to kind of wiggle that around. Plus I want my sentiment to be flat against the back so that it doesn't pop up and interfere with the opening and closing of that shutter. You could leave this card as is. You could add some of the cute little character ephemera, and you could also add some gems and rhinestones if you wanted to, but I pulled out my glossy accents so that I could add some clear lacquer to this cherry, and then I'm going to also add dots on all of those little star sprinkles. And this card is finished. I'm going to hold this up to the camera. My lacquer isn't dry, so it's not completely clear, but once it dries, it will be totally clear and it'll give a hard, shiny appearance to these elements. Here's the finished card. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye!